Greetings. Are you looking for ghosts? Then you found the right place in New Orleans, known as America's most haunted city long before hauntings became as popular as they are today. Hi, this is your spirit guide and voodoo priestess, Bloody Mary. Join me. You might come to New Orleans for its food or its music or its fun, but there is another side. Music and revelry goes with everything, even with the dead. Dancing with the dead, music, and going through the streets of New Orleans, cheering on the soul that has just passed to help them on their way, can be seen as you wander the back streets of New Orleans. It is the underbeat to it all, and so is the swamp magic. It may be pumped away, down under, but it did not go away. Swamp magic is underneath everything, including voodoo. The voodoo at Congo Square, it was a swamp at the beginning, as was 80% of our town. Voodoo came over with the African slave trade, and the two of them danced together and still do. You have the spirit of place mixing in with the spirit that traveled with the slave trade to this gateway to the Caribbean, port town known as New Orleans, which is filled with culture, with the first opera house in the country. It's filled with vice, with the first red light district in the country, but also surrounded by spirituality, from the spiritualist churches to voodoo and to our mother church, Roman Catholicism. Now, Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau was a devout Catholic. She was also a yellow fever nurse. She was doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, all rolled into one, and many people turned to her for healing. She was a traiteur to treat, as well as a psychic, a mystic, and a political leader. Her tomb at St. Louis I was venerated as the #1 visited tomb in the country prior to COVID. No longer can people leave offerings there, but people still call upon Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau, who is always associated with New Orleans. In the times of Great Plague, she was the survivor and the miraculous healer that people still go to today in many, many ways. Now, we weren't the only ones in Louisiana. Lots of other areas around us also had yellow fever, but we had the highest mortality rate. A sister city, a little more land-bound up north of Shreveport, has this yellow fever mound. And a psychic that we're going to speak to today to open the way to talk to the spirits. Kekila, open the way. Open the way. Yolali. Lagon zombie. Yolali mamza Marie. Legba. We open the way. We call upon you today. You got to put a little holy water down. And say, welcome to the Bloody Mary Show. Welcome to the Bloody Mary Show. And this is my guest this week. State your name.
Dakota Lawrence.
And what do you do, Mr. Dakota?
I am a professional psychic medium and the original psychic kid.
The original psychic kid. Oh, that's right, because you did something on MTV many moons back, which was, I don't know if you care to, but that was the first time that they had introduced psychic things on MTV, right?
It was, yeah.
And you
many years ago now.
Yes, and I met you early on back then, first on the phone, but then 2005. Yeah. So both of us have been doing this for a long, long time. And we've stayed friends. He is in a different part of Louisiana. He is from Shreveport. I am from New Orleans, but there are connections. It's the same state. And we do similar things. So I am going to invite the spirits in, invite you, and just to be a bitch, I'm going to test you.
Oh, okay.
I hate when people say that. Yeah. But I also hate when people front load me with too much information when I go in a place. 100%. So then I start thinking too much and I don't feel. Mm-hmm. You know, so once I say what I say about this place, you won't be able to stop thinking. So I want you to feel. In case you don't know, we, especially Americans, have the tendency to rely on our beta brainwaves for everything. to compartmentalize, to judge, to put them. It's the way we're trained. It's hard for a lot of people to go blank and just let it flow. And that's what you really need to do to get spirit information. So I channel here, I do seance here, I do ghost hunts here, I do filming here, and I'm writing a new book series here. So this is kind of my oasis to get that done.
Your sacred space.
Hopefully, yes, to go away from people that have to ask me 1,000 things in the museum and at home with every family obligation. So yes, this would be my sacred space, but I'm not the first. So obviously there's many spirits that were here before. It's an old building, an old town. So I would like to know if you see if you could feel any general observation. If you want to go blank for a minute, let's toast to the spirits. I always say toast to the ghosts.
Toast to the ghost. Let's hope let's light that candle.
This is a town of water. So may the spirits flow. May they follow the light. May they use the water to get to us tonight. All right, let's try again. Where are we? What's going on? What you see, what you feel, what you hear.
You know, and I feel like this house, it's interesting. It's that it's got a much going on, but also not a lot going on, to where it goes through cycles, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And it's a very almost counter-like base.
It's like water. Yeah.
A lot like water, 100%. I do feel, now did you have someone that lived here that you were friends with too?
In a way.
In a way? Okay. Because I feel this person stepping forward and I feel them standing there in the corner and they're watching us do this. And I feel, only you. And I feel like a little slight smirk. And I feel it being that inviting thing. Now, as far as the home itself goes, I feel that this home and this energy here, it is old, but it's also new. It's a mixture of the old world and the new world. I feel so much of the typical old school New Orleans in this home, but I also feel so much modern day. I feel the average person now here, to where it's such a vibe of just, what I love about it is it's such a melting pot of energy. Does that make sense? And it's a lot like New Orleans itself.
Except we use the word gumbo.
Oh,
we don't like to use melting pot. That's New York.
Okay.
Gumbo. Yes. So yeah,
gumbo.
Yes, it's a gumbo. Yes.
No. But
well, obviously, there's many people that have lived and died and born and all those types of things that were in this land, in this place over the years. Yep. There were some very specific things that I'm hoping to connect and channel for the book series in here, which it's been very easy to trance out in here. In fact, too damn easy. Like I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps, So it's hard to ground away. There's some important things that I hadn't taken as a priority in the book that I was going to write till I got here. The house and its spirits have changed my mind. So what I am is reaching out to other psychics and mediums that I consider adepts, which I consider you.
Thank you.
And ghost hunters, even architects, historians, for their input and what they feel from the spirits. So, like many books, channeling with the spirits' ideas,
But I do feel that some of the greatest stories that are never told come from the cemetery. Is because we all have a story that we want to share. We all have a message that we want to get across. And more often than not, in a city like New Orleans, I've been blessed to be able to travel all across the U.S. doing this. And I always say that New Orleans is home for me, even though I don't
close.
live. Yeah. But it's just, there's no other place like it, because the spirits and the living, it's a very neat cohab almost. Everything is based in the spiritual, everything's based in but everything's intertwined. And I feel like that's culture based, but I feel like it's also the fact that so many of us are drawn to this place.
And it's such a portal in general. Just keep coming, keep coming.
And that's what's kept her alive for 300 years.
And probably before there's recorded history as well. These things were still going on. The swamp magic that's underneath it all that people seem to neglect is a lot of the studies that I'm doing.
that I'm writing about that, the energy, the spirit of place that was already here, what it called here, what it grew here, how it changed the things that came here. Even me, that I came here thinking one thing to write in this book, but it's made me rethink, even though I live this culture, teach it all the time, and deal with the spirits. But there are some spirits here.
Mm-hmm.
And some history, and I'm not sure about the fact that it's a graveyard. But I have had a vision one night here that not far under are a lot of graves. I'm getting someone here to do LiDAR, ground penetrating radar, LiDAR, whatever, to try to verify that. The official first cemetery was about a building away. Now, none of the cemeteries in New Orleans stuck to the parameters of where they were supposed to be.
No.
Every time they did a little digging or something on the side, they found more bodies. I didn't expect, I wasn't looking for that here, but I went deep under and I was like, oh, maybe there are. I mean, maybe that's not why you said that. Did you say that because you felt that there might have been bodies here, or you were just making a general comment about a cemetery?
And I feel like there's more, like I said, there's more to the story to be told. You had mentioned that you're writing about the history of New Orleans
and the mysticism. I mean, how it affected the present and the middle.
And I feel like with this is that there's so many stories here that aren't told, and the fact that you said that it is
to show me some new ones.
And
you think they're good stories? You think they're bad stories? You think they're misled stories? Do you have anything about what they want the stories to be? This is the kind of information I'm trying to get to include in the book. And I will tell you some more to help you be specific, but it's going to kind of throw you for a loop. So I want to get raw first.
I feel the stories being about them, but the way that they taught those around them. And I feel that it is not so much misleading as it is the smoke and mirror trick. Does that make sense to you? And I feel like the mirror's here, but we're going.
Well, the mirror's right there. No. I put the mirrors there intentionally to bring things through.
But, within that space, I do feel that most importantly, it's working all of those things together. It's bringing all of those things together.
We walked in to the building today. See if this gives you a hint. Through the smoke and mirrors. As we entered in. So what happened when we walked in? What happened as we approached?
The tour.
There was a tour sitting on the steps, blocking our way. There was people sitting on the stoop, pressing up against the building, and someone talking that I politely told him to shut up.
It was very nice.
I was trying to be nice because I didn't want
I
what they say.
I loved your answer of, can you just wait till I get inside, please? Which was like that was the nicest, shut
I didn't say shut up. Yeah, I just I don't want to hear your version, your stories. I don't want it to taint what we're doing. It already taints other things. I just wanted it to be separate. So sort of, we walked in through the smoke and gas,
And I feel that there's so many, there's not just, it's in this house, but it's in this area. That there is so many different messages that come. And I feel that
it is hard to pinpoint sometimes.
Because it's just chitter chatter.
Well, there'll be more in a minute, but I have a question.
But go ahead.
To the audience.
Okay.
They don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to put Joe on the spot. What do you feel? I know you're going to say I'm not psychic, not this, that, but you're thinking about something while you're sitting there. I'll cut this out. Don't worry, it's evil.
Oh, no. No, honestly, you want to know when you were talking about the cemetery before y'all said that, so you need to look beneath you.
You see
that was in my head.
You need to look beneath you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was sleeping, and I sleep here in order to connect and get extra stories, not because I need to. And I was down, I don't know, I'd say about 7 feet below. and there were some headstones and things going on. No, I was up above on the land, and I put my hand on a small wall of bricks, and some crumbled and some had like wet mortar, and it slid down, and I looked down, and 7 feet drop were old tombs and tombstones and things, and I was, like almost like being covered up or had been covered up, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. For some reason, sliding my hand through the wet cement part was supposed to be important, and I slid it all the way down. I was like, well, officially St. Peter Street Cemetery, which has tons of bodies under it, is less than half a block away going that way. This is nothing in comparison to that. It could have been, extra feet over before anything was built here, because this was the outskirts of town. This is the edge of the French Quarter near Rampart, and the French Quarter, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, ended at Dauphine originally. 2 blocks back was a moat and a wall that surrounded the city. So this was the outskirts of town, swamp all around, and it started to slowly but surely dot and fill in with little houses. And this was one of the first houses that was in this cottage that was here, which we have the original foundation below, about 2.5, 3 feet. The end of the 19th century, they filled in this area because it was prone to flood before they officially built up the area. And the original house lasted till around 1905. It fell down, or it was raised, and the 1905 cottage is what we're in now. But it's over the old foundation, which was either large cypress boards or brick or both. So, and we did some courtyard landscaping, let's put it that way, and found the original brick patio 2.5 feet below. So that's here. And I wasn't expecting about the graves, but that would make sense. But then again, there's lots of other things under this house. Let's feel there. See if we can feel anything under the house. Kikila, Creole for who is there? Or what is there? Besides dead body.
Come on now.
I didn't do it. There is something that's been recurring that people have picked up on by a lot of different psychics.
But there's a lot of drumming that's taking place too. No,
Not
that.
The drumming at Congo Square was also half a block away this way, which was the free meeting place for the slaves, which would have kind of brought the mistress of the house into the world and brought her out. So yeah, there would have been drumming in here, out here, back there, but down there, people have come up with something else, which isn't right or wrong, but
I just get a wall of like, nope, you're not looking there. I'm just like wall.
Okay, well, that might be correct. That was like a vortex that a lot of people were getting, like dragon energy or gator energy, kind of feeding ancient energy under the area, which is probably the swamp itself. But this is the cottage of Marie Laveau.
Okay.
So that's why if I told you that to begin with, you wouldn't have been able
all
to.
The drumming and all the,
Yeah, I mean, well, but you wouldn't have been able to think of anything but that. So that's why we're trying to get that through. So Marie Laveau's grandmother, Catherine Henry, built this house. She was a freed slave, and her daughter, I think 90% sure, had Marie Laveau in this house, and Marie Laveau definitely died in this house. And then she had many children and grandchildren that lived here. So they're thinking at least 5, possibly 6 generations either lived or died in this house. So yes, and she did her rituals here, and her meetings here, and her magic here, and she had lines up and down the block. Lots of things were going on, and this holds a lot of history.
Like I said, it's so much. And
well, that's why I wanted to be here to channel for the book about a series on New Orleans mysticism.
It makes sense to me now, to where it's the story that's being told. And like I said, there is the smoke and mirror.
Like their stories out there. That's why I said don't, because you would hurt. You would have come in not only wearing a zombie T-shirt, but hearing a zombie story.
Well,
Well,
there's a reason why we make the choices each day. But I do think that there's so much more to the story that hasn't been told from Marie's perspective,
Right.
and from
her mother's perspective, her
mother's
grandmother's,
perspective.
you know.
People
Yeah.
forget that, she was, and like I said, it makes sense on what I was saying to you earlier. It's the history, it's the people coming in and out, and it's just a constant, the spirits peak up and they go back down, they peak up and they go back down, which I feel like makes sense on when she was here doing our work.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much history and mystery connected, as well as real cultural and, in her own way, political ties that she was working with, helping with prison reform and women's reform and slavery reform, or, everything together. There was work that was done in the hoodoo and the rights, civil rights, women's rights.
And I think people don't realize, when you look at, a free woman of color like, Madame Laveau was, how much New Orleans was a different place.
Yes.
Because of the women that were in power.
And
the fact that women could be landowners.
Her grandmother, 1700s, a freed slave landowner. And then Marie inherited and paid up on it and everything else. I mean, this is not something that other people were used to, which was the clash of cultures when the Americans came here. And even though they were afraid of all the things that we did here and the mixed blood liaisons and the voodoo, they were also more afraid of not having the help of it. So it would come in disguise, knocking on the door. So when I've come here astrally over the last decades as a priestess at Marie Laveau, I always came in this way. That's why I specifically put the altars and the mirrors without the smoke here, and then let the smoke and mirrors. And the first 6 feet of the building was not the original foundation. As this, unlike most, was set off the banquette or sidewalk. And then from there to almost the kitchen would have been the main cottage. It went just a wee bit over onto that side, because now it's a double shotgun, and all the way to the fence over there. Then there was a slave quarters on the side, or an outbuilding, and then another outbuilding going across, another one over there, so there was work, life, and people sleeping in the outbuildings and courtyard too. And rituals and drumming, like you said, of course, drumming, Other people getting a lot of the snake energy, a lot of the gator energy or dragon. And many people were connecting, which I did early studies of the connection with on the Toltec and Yucatan and that kind of connection to the voodoo here, which would have probably filtered through the Native American Indians and their shamanism, who came from that way as well. So all of that blended.
Baton Rouge was the meeting ground, was the Red Stick.
I don't know if it was the meeting ground that they said.
And you had about 5 or 6 different tribes that would meet there to do their trades. Or this is on back.
Yeah, and they call that this area another area too, where they did that by the river, because this was part of the Mississippi and Indian trade route.
That was after Baton Rouge, or Baton Rouge was originally first, and then when we started having the trade and commerce.
This was before colonialization. Yeah, because it was at first, but then that would have been Natchitoches, right? Yeah, Natchitoches was,
Natchitoches.
They said was the earliest city, but actually we had a 1698 village here in City Park of the Bayou St. John, or Fort St. John area. And that had a lot of native, which is now City Park, around that area. And they always said that Marie Laveau had native blood. Where exactly it came from, I do not know. But everybody mixed bloods here. And they always talk about the shortage of women, that everybody intermarried. And they wanted their babies, and they had just penal colony people. I mean, it was kind of a dumping ground of get rid of people from France at first.
Yeah.
But then we had all the others. And I don't know, she did come to great power. And now one thing I'm going to ask you 2 things. Yeah. One, what is the first thing that you remember hearing about Marie Laveau growing up, even as a kid?
Just really, it was the fact that she was such a powerful, because I grew up in the intuitive household, was that she was such a powerful voodoo priestess, that she was, and we look at her as the Queen of New Orleans and the Queen of New Orleans voodoo.
Or Louisiana or whatever. What about, so you heard about her before you heard about go to her tomb? You know, what did you?
Oh yeah, it was always about her first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not about the tomb.
And then now, of course, later on, I mean,
it was come put your X's and
come put your X's and do your knocking and leave the offering, and then go back and you circle it after you get.
Yeah, that was an add-on later in history. The circle part that was never like part of an original ritual, but that became a thing probably in the 80s. But it's probably when you were born.
I was 86.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have heard. You would have heard what was going on more at the time, with a little bit earlier for maybe your mom and dad. But basically that was the thing. So yeah, every generation takes away, does a few other things to her spirit. But it has turned out that she is actually a little bit upset about the way some people talk about her. And it's not just the smoke and mirrors, but let's add the element of baby killing and drugs and murder and other things that they try to add to her, which is nothing to do with her life. She's a very spiritual and very much a healer. I mean, maybe she wasn't a saint and perfect without any flaws, but who is,
Every saint's a sinner.
That's right.
But
not every sinner is a saint.
Yeah.
There was talk about her actually being sainted, but there was too much controversy about her life. Now her first cousin or second cousin, Henriette DeLille, she's in the first or second stage of beatification to the Catholic Church right now. Mm-hmm. A free woman of color contemporary of Marie Laveau, but she opened the first African-American nunnery in the South. But she also took care of orphans, took care of yellow fever, healed. She did all those other things, but she never married, and she devoted her life to the church. So, and Marie Laveau devoted her life to the church too. She was a yellow fever nurse. They say she went to Mass every day, so she was very spiritual.
But I think that people, I mean, and it's one of those things that, and I've talked about this on my travels, is that one of the most abused and misunderstood, belief systems or religions, whatever, everybody wants to call it a different thing, is New Orleans voodooism. And voodooism as a period. Yeah. Is that, they think it's, the dolls and the pins.
And the evil and the devil. And that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Put you on the spot twice.
I'm so used to it.
Who is the devil?
Who is the devil?
Yeah.
Well,
I got a good question for you there.
Well, I mean, we talk about like I did date a couple.
Yeah, no, mine are vampires. But yeah, you dated devils. I dated vampires.
Yeah.
But like who?
But they make for great cocktail stories.
So does the devil, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's a devil hand, devil legs. Who is the devil? Or should we say, who is Satan?
It's one of those things that I've always struggled with that from a belief standpoint too.
So many people.
Yeah.
I bet I've talked. I mean, nobody's got the same answer on this. No, it's really kind of fascinating to keep asking people because they keep, it's like, wow, I've got to.
Oh, yeah. And I'm trying to stay so politically correct.
I don't think you can be politically correct about the devil.
Yeah, that's true.
So just what did you grow up hearing and what do you now believe?
Well, a lot of it was I was raised Episcopalian. And it was the fire and brimstone thing. And the question I always had since I was little was, what was his side of the story? Because we only hear the one side.
And your side was what? That he was a fallen angel? The typical...
the fallen angel, because whenever God created man, that the angels for the longest time,
were the number one.
Were the number one. And now here are these, weak creatures that God's created. It's like, well, now you got to take care of them. And they're number one, you're number two. And I always thought, I'm like, that would have made me mad too.
Yeah.
I'm not sympathizing with the devil. But I can definitely, I know. There's got to be at least one. But it's one of those things where I can see why. But I've always struggled with the definition of Lucifer or the devil, and then the whole.
And the devil made you do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Or the whole hell perspective.
Well, I was asking you originally to bring it into context of why they always equate the devil to be in voodoo, when officially in voodoo there is not necessarily an incarnate evil, but yet all of a sudden you went to the crossroads and sold your soul to the devil, became a voodoo thing when there wasn't even a devil. And then, oh, Marie Laveau, there was the devil in here. It's like, why? Why a devout Catholic? Why was there the devil? Why must that be said? Is it because of, her psychic intuition? Is it because of the dancing and the music? Is it because, what?
I think that it was to keep people away.
Just to keep them in fear and under control and the thumbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so many definitions of the devil. Yeah. Or, and the devil and Lucifer officially are several different things. I had a Satanist on here, and he didn't believe in the devil, which I thought was great. Yeah. Different people say different things, but pretty much one religion always calls the other religion the devil, or the
it's always
kissers of the goat's ass, or whatever it may be.
As I've always called it, a spiritual dick measuring cup.
And also, music, rock and roll, music of the devil. Jazz was the music of the devil. All these things. He was quite the musician, from what I understand, but I didn't realize that at first. There's always something to do with that. And, voodoo is a musical religion, so to many people, you couldn't do all this stuff. So,
no.
Marie Laveau, do you have a message to say? You can say words into there that we'll get it on replay. So what would you like to say, first person, direct to Marie, being in a place where she's so close? What would you like? Was there anything you'd like to say, share,
I think
ask?
The biggest thing is just thanking her for what she did. And being such a pioneer from a political standpoint, and helping. I mean, if she was still with us in the physical today, I think it's safe to say that she would be a pioneer for all of us, for women, for the LGBT, and for those underserved. Well, that's true.
Yeah, because she helped all people. She didn't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're rich, if you're poor. I would stretch to say she didn't care if you're gay, though I don't have any evidence on that. I don't know what the thought period at the time was.
Yeah, but I think that for someone like her, and you see it so often, is that she has always been a space to where
safe.
Yeah, it's a safe space with her. It's to where we can all go to her. Color, creed, orientation, religion, it doesn't matter. I would say that, or if we want to put a title on it, that she is the saint of Louisiana.
That's what it says. She was a patron saint of Louisiana, folk saint, if you want to look at it that way. That's why I get so upset when people say, well, you can't, be talking to her, going there, you're white. It's like, what are you talking about? She helped heal all people. She was all bloods. And New Orleans is like that too, but people don't understand our culture is we're not an American city.
No.
We're, a port town. We're gateway to the Caribbean.
The gumbo pot.
Gumbo pot. Gateway to the Caribbean, with a lot of language, customs, and things going back and forth from there. So things were different here, and things were different before the Civil War. Mm-hmm. Segregation as we know it occurred more after that, towards the turn of the 20th century. There was always a class distinction. Yeah. There was always problems, but it was not.
Well, that's what you had when the Italian immigrants moved into the quarter.
Oh, well, God, there was so many.
That was where you had the more affluent go to the garden district.
Well, people wanted to get out. They wanted to move on up and go upstairs, But after the Civil War, when the entire dynamic of the area changed, which was townhouse, French Quarter, New Orleans, plantation, 3 months, go to your farm, your workplace, and come back, that this was mercantiles and mansions, became rundown houses and became flop houses, and we had a huge Sicilian immigration, which took over most of the French Quarter for many years, for a long, long time. People don't realize the Sicilian connection to New Orleans, but there were still pockets of people of, Spanish and black and Italian and white, and it was, as my mama said, it wasn't this neighborhood this and this neighborhood that. It was checkerboard.
Yeah.
She grew up. I had somebody bitch at me for posting a video in the Treme under the bridge. My mama was born in the Treme. My grandma was born across the street from Marie Laveau. My family's been here for a long time. you don't know what you're talking about. You know, it was checkerboard was her word. You know, they didn't try to push it all, everybody here, everybody there. But yes, then after that, people start moving uptown and branching out, and new suburbs were being made. And the French Quarter was old and forgotten, and you know, they sort of turned their back on it. But she came back. Yeah, she somehow made it through because, it could have been as many times that they threatened to tear it down, you know, and I would not like to think of this being all high rises and modern and new. We're the last little bohemian edge left in this country, probably. And so at least it is a historic landmark and preserved by some laws and by some spirits who I believe the spirit of place, Marie Laveau, and many others want to keep a lot of the cultural heritage and the spiritual heritage alive. So Yolali Lamzal Marie, thank you for talking to us. Give blessings to Dakota and Mr. Joe while they're here, and help them to return again too, and continue to bless me with the gifts you've been giving me so I can keep this place and hopefully write this book soon and get the word that needs to be out. Now, remember, when you're in New Orleans, to come to the Haunted Museum. It's right down the block from here in the French Quarter at 828 North Rampart. You can schedule readings and seances and tours and ghost hunts. And I want to have headliners that come in at different times. People like Dakota and do trips that are part New Orleans and tours and drive to Shreveport. And he's got a fabulous haunted house up there with way more dolls than I have, believe it or not. It's not his, but he's got an inn that he could do a seance at. And we could go visit Elvis while we visit him too, because Shreveport's really where he was from, not from, what was he from? He was from Tupelo, Mississippi. He lived in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was from Shreveport.
And the same Elvis left the building came from Shreveport too. That's where he became Elvis.
Cool. Yes, we went and wandered around in the cemeteries and did a little bit of an investigation up there last year, and we want to come back more. And what is your socials?
Facebook, Instagram, Dakota Lawrence, and then DakotaLawrence.com.
So DakotaLawrence.com and at Dakota Lawrence. And you can get them on Instagram, Facebook, as well as we'll see this YouTube channel and hopefully in New Orleans. So thank you very much. We close the way. Any parting words, any spirit blessing? You got anything to say that I didn't say?
You've covered all of it. It's not your first rodeo.
Goodbye. Close the gates. Thank you.
I often say the greatest untold stories are in a cemetery because everyone wants to have a voice and everyone.
How's that cemetery by you doing? Is it still all homeless and crazy and weird ass sex workers?
Whenever we drive, no, like that became a thing. It still is a thing to where
she's cheating on me.
Well, no, because Joe will just randomly go, and I lick girls too, and Joe will just randomly say it, and but he'll do it at like the worst time.
When is the best time? It was like,
yeah,
that was just so like, it's another story. But if you take our tour, that's going to be New Orleans with both of us psychics, and then Shreveport. You too can meet the homeless hookers in the graveyard. Next to Elvis.
Next to Elvis. Yeah, next to Elvis.
The Elvis statue overlooks the beautiful Oakland Cemetery in a rather run-down part of downtown Shreveport. Suffice to say that I was just being nice and gave a homeless lady $1, and she offered me much, much more than I wanted, and it became a running joke. However, sex and death has always gone hand in hand in New Orleans and in Shreveport, and we also have that in common. Also, no one knew what was causing these diseases except demons and evil spirits. Iron was the great protector. Iron balconies, iron beds, iron tombs like you see here with the very, very good or for the very, very bad. Keep them, this evil spirits, away. By the way, do you know who the top 2 grave sites are to visit in this country? Well, it's Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau and Elvis.